the thing I want to start by is just kind of helping to understand the difference between what the media is reporting and what's actually happening. The media tends to report data that's aged data. And I'll give you an example of this. Everything they track, it's number of closed sales, the median or average sales price, the sale price to list price ratio. All of these things deal with a sold price. Well, the problem with that is, let me give you this example. Let's say today we're sitting here, it's February 23rd. If a property goes under contract today or has an offer accepted on it today, the property is probably going to have a 30, maybe a 45-day escrow period on it. What that means is that property is not going to actually close probably until April. Then what's going to happen at the end of April, the economist or the statisticians are going to gather all of the data of everything that closed in April, and then they're going to put a report out sometime in May, and they're going to say, hey, here's what happened with the median sales price last month. So let's make sure we're clear on that. Property goes under contract in February, closes in April, and gets reported in May. So what that means is the media, a lot of times the data they're telling you in May, the media is going to tell you what happened today. That's a big problem, right? There's a multi-month lag in the data that's the media reports. So anything that deals with a sold price or a closed sale is going to be lagging data. We don't like to focus on that, but that's the data the media reports all the time. And so just make sure you understand you're hearing things long after they've happened, 2, 3, 4 months after something has actually happened. What we like to focus on a little bit differently is we like to focus on some of the leading indicators, the things that are more recent, more accurate pieces of information. So one, we look at how many new homes came on the market, and then how many homes went pending. When I say pending, I mean they had an offer accepted and went under contract. So we want to look at if this many came on the market, how many went off the market. That's going to help us understand what's happening with supply. We talk about months of supply is something we like to track. We also like to track the days on market. How long is it taking for homes to sell? Really good indicator of what's going on in the market. We like to track all of the different inflation data. We found that CPI is kind of the number that the media always talks about. There's a few other numbers, and CPI, if you're not familiar, stands for Consumer Price Index. There's another report called PCE. Excuse me. Just so you know this is live, I'm gonna take a sip of water. And we will, just as a heads up, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat now or just save them till the end. I want to make sure I have plenty of time for Q&A at the end of this thing. So hold on to those questions. We'll get to those at the end of this. So inflation, CPI, that's the most commonly used number. You also have what's referred to as PCE, personal consumption expenditure, which they're asking people, how much are you spending on these things that you're consuming? That's another good indicator. You have the PPI, which is the producer price index, which is how much are the producers, what's their number look like? So you have us on the personal side, you have the producers on their side, two different metrics. And then you have the employment situation summary, which is typically the jobs report is what it's more commonly called, but the formal name is the ESS or the employment situation summary. And that's the one where they're going to tell you how many jobs were created in the last month. Now, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but the economy is actually looking for unemployment to go up. They want it to go up. Now, we just had one of the craziest jobs reports I've ever seen. The most recent jobs report that came out a couple weeks ago, they were expecting to see 187,000 jobs created in the month of January. There was 517,000 jobs created, at least according to this report. So it missed the expectations, missed by 330,000. It was crazy, absolutely crazy to have that big of a miss. Well, because we missed so much, what that means is there was more jobs created. When there's more jobs created, a lot of times what happens is we went from there being 1.7 jobs available for every one unemployed person to 1.9 jobs available to every unemployed person. Employees are, the supply and demand is out of whack right now. There's a shortage of supply and there's a surplus of demand. What that's doing is that's causing wages to go up. Well, guess what? When wages go up, inflation goes up because people are making more money. So when you had that negative jobs report or a jobs report that missed that badly, that has caused rates to jump considerably. Just in the last 2 weeks, we've seen rates increase 3/4 to almost an entire point just in the last 2 weeks because we had such a huge miss on the jobs report. And then the CPI followed. That wasn't an ideal number. We've had a lot of bad inflation data in the last 2 weeks alone. So we're definitely paying a lot of attention to that. That's going to be a good indicator of where things are headed. We're obviously following what's happening with mortgage interest rates. So these are the leading indicators that we like to track to really help us get our finger on the pulse of where we think things are going. And then there's a couple bonus indicators. So because of the fact we have 75 plus agents here in San Diego and in Riverside, we have access to a lot of things that the media doesn't, right? Number one is how many people are actually going on our website. We're tracking, right? If there's more people going on our website, there's more people searching for homes than there was the month before. That's a good indicator that the demand is starting to come back. We're tracking how many properties are on the market, right? We talked about how many new properties, but let's track how many people are actually visiting the website, how many people are registering. That's a really good indicator. We want to track how many people are visiting our open houses. When we were doing, now again, 75 agents at any given weekend, we probably have 50 to 60 open houses happening on any given weekend. Like, this is really good data. So we're tracking how many people are driving their butts to a house, seeing signs and walking through the door, right? Showing they have some level of interest in buying or selling real estate. That number today versus December is easily 4 to 5x what we were seeing just this past December. Really good indicator, right? Demand is there. We're tracking how many offers are received on listings, which is another, right? The media is not reporting that. They have no freaking clue. That's not a stat that gets reported really anywhere. But we're tracking that. We're seeing multiple offers on virtually every single listing that's out. Even with the rates that have jumped a lot in the last couple of weeks, we're still seeing multiple offers, and we're seeing listings that have sat for a long period of time. A lot of our listings, when we went into January, we had listings that were sitting for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, magically start getting showings again and go under contract. The media is not reporting that. So that's one of the really good things when you're working with a big team like ours is we got a lot of boots on the ground. We're not just reading about the news, we're making the news happen. And most importantly, we're having conversations with people who are thinking about buying and selling like you. We're hearing the things that you're saying. We're having the conversations with people who are thinking about buying, who are thinking about selling. What are they hearing, right? Because a lot of buyers and sellers, they're hearing what the media is reporting, which isn't the reality. But we're hearing what they're feeling, what they're saying, what they're thinking, what they're doing. And that's not data that exists anywhere. That's just data that happens by having boots on the ground. So that's one of the good things about a team like ours is, again, we're not reading the news, we're making the news.